Welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where we play it and trade it. Today, checking out the Squier Classic Vibe 50s Telecaster, price point of $429, super affordable. I'll tell you everything you need to know about this guitar when we pull it apart on the bench, and of course, we're gonna plug it in and play it. But at the top, if you're in the market for any new gear, including this Classic Vibe Tele, click to buy that gear using our link. It helps us make these videos. In the States, you're gonna get fast free shipping, super easy payment plans, and makes buying new gear really easy. And if you're in Europe, you can use our Toman link. All that is either pinned in the comments or down in the description. We're also giving away an American-made Martin acoustic guitar when we hit 100,000 subscribers. To win that guitar, just make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't done so, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and enter via Gleam, also down in the description. All right, let's take a first look at the Squier Classic Vibe. This is the 50s Tele. It's actually got a pine body. It's got these alnico designed by Fender pickups, classic kind of three-way blade switch for a Tele, tone and volume, maple neck, all the snappiness that you want out of a traditional Tele configuration. And that's what the Classic Vibe series is great for. Vintage-inspired traditional designs at great prices, and these really have become go-to guitars at a great price point. Vintage style aesthetics across the board. So let's pull it apart and get some measurements before we plug it in. We've got the Squier spaghetti letter logo, gold and black, designed by Fender. Telecaster on the headstock. You got these vintage style slot tuners. See, designed and backed by Fender. And then you've got this nice kind of aged gloss finish that they do in poly, and it gives it that really kind of worn in look in terms of that color. I love that. I have that on my own Tele. And then you've got a 9.5-inch modern radius, 9-gauge strings on here. Coming down, you got that beautiful black guard on here. This one is in butterscotch. It's also available in a white. And this has a poly finish pine body. And then you've got that traditional ashtray Tele bridge, traditional controls. Let's get the strings out of the way and get some measurements. All right, go ahead and flip this around and pop this neck out. Definitely looks like pine. You got a pine body underneath there. Maple neck, more modern 9.5-inch radius, and you got the truss rod at the top, which is, in my book, that's the only way I want to do it these days. 1.65 inches at the nut. First fret at a medium 0.83 inches, up to 0.86 inches at the 12th. Pine body comes in at 1.8 inches thick. So Fender designed these alnico pickups for this Tele, and flipping it up, you can actually see that they've routed the body for a humbucker if you want to go crazy and mod it. And then they have the single coil neck pickup attached to the pickguard rather than attached to the body. Taking a look at the controls, you got these little mini pots, I'm assuming 250K, everything hand wired. And then flipping on the multimeter, let's get a reading on the pickups. We're at 7.0 in bridge, 7.1 in neck, 3.5 combined. So let me tell you the adjustments I made to make this playable. It was pretty far out of the box. First of all, the action itself was about a mile high off the fretboard. So the first thing I did was lower the saddles. When I got the string height where I wanted it, I found that the truss rod was actually too loose. So I had to actually end up doing 2 quarter turns of the truss rod. And then by the time I got the strings to the proper height, the pickup was so high that the magnets from the bridge pickup were touching the strings, so I had to bring the pickup height down. Now the reason I spell all that out is not necessarily that you need to know how to do all that, but it's going to be frustrating to a new player who spends $400 on a guitar expecting to bring it home and play it, and it's not playable. So one thing I will tell you is with some setup work, these can be cool. However, you have to make sure it's set up correct and don't expect it to come set up correctly from the factory. Another thing I've got to point out on this guitar, the fretwork is a little bit disappointing on these. It's not on every single one, but I can actually stick my thumbnail underneath these frets. And just to illustrate for you, I can take the E string, I can literally floss this fret. Look, see how far underneath that fret it is? I can do the same thing with the first fret too. I can literally floss the underside of these frets. That's how bad they're sticking up. So this is the thing where, yes, you're getting a budget level guitar that they're making a lot of and they're making quickly. They're making as import guitars so that they can sell it to you at this kind of price. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but you just got to be careful about the setup. This one needed some work, and those frets would need to be addressed as well. That's not really acceptable in the present state. It's playable. I got it where it's feeling good, but it took some work. Just be prepared. Curious to see what the pine body does to the weight. 8 pounds, 3 ounces. We'll call it 8.2 pounds. And flipping it around, I told you it did take a little bit of setup, but what was that? I got it feeling a lot better. So we're gonna plug it in and play it in a second. I just wanna remind you, if you're in the market for any new gear, whatever you're buying, click to buy it using our link. You'll find that down in the comments or the description. It really does help us make these videos. So check that out and check out all the demos across our channel. But now comes my favorite part. I've got this guitar set up, feeling pretty good where I want it. So let's see how it sounds. I'll show you clean tones, we'll dirty it up, and then we'll put it behind the track and let it sing. On the other side of that, I'll give my raw, honest reaction to playing this guitar along with the final score. So let's get plugged in and get to work, see you on the other side, and drop a comment as we go. Woof. You stuck with me to the end, so I'm going to give you a final score. I based it on 3 categories: overall playability, overall sound, and overall value. When it comes to playability, out of the box I told you it needed a lot of setup. I got it where it's comfortable to play, but the real knock on playability is the fretwork. The fretwork is so bad, in fact, you can see in the demo, the string actually, while I'm playing, goes underneath, here it is, right here. It's actually underneath the 2nd fret right now. That's how bad the fret lift on this guitar is. And it's not just limited there. I mean, it's the 1st fret, it's the 2nd fret. I can see it in places all up and down the neck. And the problem with that is it's just gonna be frustrating to play a guitar that's not put together correctly or with enough attention to, quality control. But that said, if we assume that the frets are perfect, which they're not on this one, but if they were, I really like the feel of the neck. The gloss and the neck shape, it's a slimmer neck shape. Very easy playing guitar. The weight, it's not too heavy. I was worried the pine would be heavy. It's not. Everything else was comfortable except for that fretwork. That would, I mean, this would basically have to go back. Again, I'm gonna score this assuming that the frets were good. I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8.8 on overall playability if the frets were good. This one is almost unscorable as is. It would have to go back. We'll go 8.8 on overall playability. Overall sound is gonna be its highest score in my opinion because the pickups are phenomenal. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 9.5 on overall sound because I'm that impressed with the pickups at this price level. Designed by Fender, alnico pickups, they sound fantastic in the Classic Vibe series. All right, and then value. It's really hard to beat or complain about too much at this price point. $429 for the Classic Vibe. Super impressive. I'll give it a 9.2 on overall value. All right, I'm gonna give it a 9.2, but I'm not let them off the hook for that awful fretwork. That would have to be dealt with via a return, unfortunately. So Squier, get your act together on the frets. If they can get their act together, it's a great guitar at a great price. Let me know what you think in the comments. For Play and Trade Guitars, I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera. See you next time.